Autobots, roll out!
In a cold, faraway world, a battle is raging between evil and good. From the stars that came here to Earth, caught in their struggle through the whole universe, robotic warriors.
Perceptor here. Welcome to Transformers for your listening pleasure. TFYLP for short. Join us and discuss the latest in Transformers fandom. And now, without further ado, here is Weird Wolf. Now, where did I put that chorus stop? Ratchet, did you take the chorus stop?
Only the strong will survive till all I want.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Transformers for Your Listening Pleasure, episode number 127, recorded, what is today?
I think it's the 26th, 25th, Tuesday. I thought it was like a Saturday or something.
Tuesday somewhere.
We are at TFCon USA in Chicago, Illinois.
It is the 25th.
Yes. We and Rik Alvarez of Play With This Too, and I am Weird Wolf, and this is TFCon. We are kind of got a makeshift thing going on here, but hopefully you guys are tuning in. We had one feed going and had to shut it down and start a new one, so hopefully you've been able to follow us on over. Well, let's talk with the big news. We talked with Rik a couple weeks ago on the show, and he had some things that he couldn't tell us at the time, but now he can unveil them and reveal
I
them.
still have lots of things I can't tell you yet.
Yet.
There's still more names to be announced.
But there's another big one that
Two names we announced today. One was the addition of Simon Furman, who's a friend of mine, and I went through the project with him, showed him what we're doing, and I said, "Hey, are you interested in working on this? Let's talk about price and timing." And he was really cool about it. He's not here today. I couldn't afford to fly him in.
Simon is really awesome. I actually ate dinner with him at the BotCon in Lexington.
Oh, that's good.
And I picked his brain on the good BotCon.
There's more stuff we can't tell you.
I know, right?
I picked his brain on Headmasters that night because I mean that's my favorite part of Transformers.
You're the one.
Yes.
He's the one.
Yes.
That guy. He's that guy.
Well, no, I'm not Headmaster Dawn.
No,
he's the other guy on our show.
Oh, we did get the cat guy here. He's too busy with RC. So.
He's the one with the RC fetish. Yeah.
RC fetish and
Not
kitties.
fetish, but
Don't ask me. I don't.
he just loves RC and anything. This generation's RC that's coming out. Whenever he saw it, he's like, "I gotta have that."
Did you work on that while you were there?
Not really.
No, we talked about it so long, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, up until this one, we had the Energon RC and then the animated, I believe.
yeah, I never thought that figure would get made. Never. It looks good.
And now
I haven't played
female
with it yet.
figures really taking the forefront. I mean, we've got Chromia and RC.
Yeah, like all at the same time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's something I never thought would happen. It was just a battle to get Air Acted made.
Yeah. We got a question about every mode. So that's a budget cut, or
Well, I believe Joe Kide was the designer on that item, and him and I were talking, and he's like, "Yeah, there's not much of a body there. It's gonna be deluxe, so I gotta come up with these weapons up on the side of her. Can you put it in the show?" No, okay. So he ended up putting these weapons on, and him and I had always talked about, well, let's do a Voyager one day, and that'll be the 3-mode thing. And when that item came up for review, I remember I had to kind of make an argument for why it should be made. And we spent all this money developing this character and the Maya files and putting the character on the show that we really needed to use the assets that we had. And it turned into another battle that I tried to fight. And that was a battle I won because there was research showing that it doesn't matter if the character is male or female as long as it's got a cool mode. And that's how Arachnid made. Otherwise, she would never have been made.
I searched. I went out on a toy hunt one night about 12 o'clock in the morning and hit 5 Walmarts before I finally found one. And I mean, I hadn't seen any other pictures of it other than a couple of promo pictures. And I'm like, it don't have 3 modes. I'm still buy it.
Yeah, I wish we could have done more with making what we had in the show and the products we put out, especially with the Predacon Rising stuff, match the show more.
Timing's tough.
Yeah, that was all.
The show's always faster than the toy, so
it was all very rushed.
Yeah.
That's understandable, because I mean, you got the guys that write it, then they start doing something with it, and it's all of a sudden, okay, this toy's coming out, but then you got this other one that needs to come out on top of that.
Two production schedules that don't always line up. Right. The animation schedule is very different than the toy schedule, so if you don't hit the timing right to either agree on what it can be, or if you need a change either side late, you almost can't address it, especially on a CG show that has builds where take a lot more time than just changing a model sheet.
Has there ever been an instance where a character was revealed through toys that was initially supposed to be like a surprise in the actual cartoon, or is it?
No, have a particular debut kind of thing. It wasn't like we on this date too often. So the toys would often be shown at Toy Fair before the show anyway. So that it was hard. That probably couldn't have happened. It was more, sometimes Star Wars has tried to be secret up until a certain time. That was tough to do on Transformers. And unnecessary given it was all Hasbro, so let's get it out there.
Yeah.
Did we introduce
whichever is first?
Yeah.
Maybe
Did we?
I'm Aaron Archer. Handsome Devil.
When I started the show, we're with Rik Alvarez. And
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
I'm Weird Wolf. And
Yeah, okay.
It's been
I
a
was
long day.
listening to the Radio Free Cybertron podcast in my earpiece.
Man.
well, they're friends of ours. One of the casts is on our show. But yeah, well, it's been a really big long day here. I've been helping with Capture Prey booth, our sponsor Capture Prey, and he's been helping with our other sponsor Mega Toys, and we've been rocking quite a bit. And
I drew all day, full out, talking to everybody about what I'm up to, and on old robots, talking about the good old days. Well,
I was busy with our pre-Kickstarter fundraiser. We thank you to everyone who made a donation, and everyone got a prize. I was busy handing out comics to kids. Some kids are like, "Who's this guy?"
Busy Con is awesome, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a lot of good energy.
I myself, I even had to break away from the actual con to go upstairs to go ahead and review the Master Shooter collectibles that I did exclusively for the TFCon. So I got to rush and try to slap together an edit soon for that thing up. So yeah, I've been busting hot too.
And it's weird being back in this location again after 10 years.
Yeah.
It's just, you walk in, it's like, wow.
My first
10 years ago, kids, and
well,
it was different. I had a different job. It's a different place.
Well, it was OTFCC at that time. I think it was the last time they were here, and that was the my very first convention, Transformer convention, and I've made maybe 3 or 4 since that were official. This is actually, well, aside from CharterCon last year was my first unofficial, but no, I take that back. Psychicon. And it's always fun.
We work on convention names with the Transformer audience.
Sharktacon.
When I tell my wife that I'm going to this one or that one, she's like, really? That's the name?
Why don't we just call one Plasticon?
I don't know.
I
There
think
you
my
go.
favorite one was Joe Lanta. It was a G.I. Joe convention in Atlanta. Joe Lanta. I think that's the best convention name there is.
Yeah.
I think that wins.
Or just straight up just name it Robot Wars, because these guys bring in other stuff other than just Transformers.
I've dubbed this convention the first episode of the Battle of Chicago.
Man.
Remember Chicago, right?
Well, listeners that may not know, that BWTToo has actually been announced for the Chicagoland area for next year. It's what, in June?
Yeah,
I believe. I
think it's
forget
June.
the actual date, but
From what I've gathered, hotels are already sold out.
yeah.
And
There's another block coming.
Yeah.
Other block hotels are going to announce.
so the first block sold out. Hold out. You'll get your space, your time.
all these.
Always bargain shop. That's always the best thing.
Yeah.
Spend it at the company. Spend it on the hotel.
Or charter.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Do that.
Kickstarters are always awesome.
Well, we spoke with Rick a couple weeks ago, his background with Aaron about his background, and then we'll go into him coming on board with Play With This Too, and then we'll talk with the company and some of the ideas that you tell the listeners yourself what you did for Hasbro. And,
This is a transitionally. He left Hasbro a year and a half ago after 19 years, and was on Counties for his time. A little over 13 years. Big job, a lot of work. Everybody saw me out at cons and stuff. There's a lot of traveling. Worry and stress with job like what I had, and it's cool. Traded it early. Everyone keeps asking me. I don't really have a good answer for what I've been up to, other than relax, and that's given me to get back in the drawing. But I got back at Hasbro back in the 90s when toys were very different. The brands were very different. This was very different. How you related to be very different. I did the first Hasbro exclusive. It didn't have exclusive before 1990.
what was it?
It was Fear and Batman and a Riddler. And it's changed, and so that's how I got into it through a friend who got in, and they were looking for more guys who did characters and stories, and worked my way through that.
Kind of parlayed that.
Yeah, so I know a lot about toys, about storytelling. I like to still use that, even though I'm kind of working on my own projects. And this interesting project, who I've obviously known for a long time and worked with, and he married me and my wife.
Yes, I'm the Reverend Rik Alvarez.
Yeah, so presented me with a unique opportunity to get back into this in a way that companies really don't do. Like I said, I like drawing monsters. Through my work, it would be very different than what I am known for.
I actually follow you on Tumblr, and it's I really like the
I
work.
appreciate that. Aaron Nurture Arts on Tumblr. So I like monsters and stuff, and represent this. I think I can, get into it because it's something I get to do all the years it has. Creating your own characters. My particular favorite, organic monster, kind of Lovecraft kind of things. And so it's been
I knew what type of stuff he liked, so I just had to show him things to get him interested. Stuff with tentacles and sea creatures.
Yeah.
I just had to play it to what he likes.
So that was a nice way to kind of get back. I was there a long time, so I don't need to recreate the wheel, and work on transforming products and stuff, or robots even. So
to me, like being an artist, it's much easier to try to create something if you don't have a bunch of fiction or some story or something just slapped into it. It's like it creates its own story.
it depends on the creator. I was actually who does enjoy that tough challenge. There's some walls here. We can either figure out how to get through them, we can ignore them, we can build around them, we can build them up. I kind of like those weird challenges. But you're absolutely right. You don't always get to do what you want
It's very true.
So this was a cool opportunity to get into that.
Well, when you have the freedom to create, when you have basically starting at the ground level, and you have the freedom to create something that is new or a new, fresh look on an old idea, you know, it can give the fans something to get behind and get excited about that they may not have considered before. You know, whenever you have, it's like you have different genres that like to cross over. I mean, I'll use Star Wars and Star Trek for example. You know, both set in space and everything. You have fans that are staunchly loyal to one or the other, but then you have fans like me that, you know, I love both. And
you a Kirk or Picard?
Picard, of course. Picard.
He's a Kirk fan.
I'm a new Kirk, not Shatner.
I like the old Kirk. I'm sorry. I enjoy the cheesy aspect of it.
I pictured you more Janeway than anything.
I will say I'm a big DS9 guy.
I'm Cisco all
I
the way.
love DS9.
I mean, but you know, I mean, the thing is that fans get behind, you know, the different stories. You know, where Star Wars is a little more, I guess, rustic and out there, and Star Trek tends to be more science-based than
more glamorous. Because like when you see the Enterprise, it's not some beat up like frisbee or something.
Yeah,
it's not all sleek and just beautiful, and the future's all nice and clean, and it's like there's not that dirty ass.
Yeah, they're two very different views of what is like to be a human in space, where you have the guys who work in the Federation, everybody's happy and there's no poverty and they have food for everybody,
And Star Wars has no physics or gravity or motion of space.
Yeah. It's just very weird.
But both do have explosions in space.
Yes, they do.
And Batman can breathe in space.
Batman can do anything.
I was reading the Wolverine comic, the Wolverine. I was disappointed to learn that it wasn't Batman who killed him. I was just expecting that to be the case.
Some fan fiction.
A little bit.
But I mean, getting back to it though, my train of thought was, what was my train of thought? I lost it.
Get away.
Yeah, like I said, it's been a long day.
Yeah,
I'll try to wrangle it around. But you know, if you have Star Wars and Star Trek, you know, and people, you have the crossover because they're similar, and if you have, you know, it's like they're both set in space, both have their dramas, and people can appreciate that are fans of one thing can appreciate something else, and because of its similarity. But it's not particularly a slave to something else. So you guys have banded together and using your expertise that you've learned from your work on Transformers and Batman and other genres, and basically melded those into one ball of awesome. That's what I call it. You know, I mean, the excitement for Play With This Too, and the possibilities are amazing. I mean, you got monsters and robots. I mean,
well, it all comes down to the crew. No one can do something like this on their own. So guys like Steve Redinger and Mark Wong, Trent and Aaron, and everyone else who's involved, who we haven't announced yet, Ken Christensen, Simon Furman. It's just kind of playing to what they're all good at, and I'm not saying, hey, design this, do this. They're all kind of looking at the material and saying, all right, well, what's my take on it? Some are more faithful to inspiration. Some, like Aaron, want to make their own things. And then we've got kind of the headshots, which is just everyone just drawing whatever they want to draw and making whatever they want to make.
So it's like a celebration of that inspiration and being a fan of 6-inch figures or action figures and toys.
Well, talk about monsters and everything, 6-inch. Now, if the 6 inches do really well, and I'm not trying to say like Pacific Rim type thing here, but could you all maybe parlay that into like kaiju-like monsters that are larger than 6-inch scale, or would you all be interested in that, or who would? I mean,
I can
That's his answer.
kind of building off of his idea, things I'm thinking of is if you're gonna do like some kind of kaiju and you got this headshot kind of thing, why not have like a multiple head monster that you can swap out all the heads on? And it would look very weird,
Yeah.
And the other thing is like,
Bring
just
you
a
on
whole
team.
head swap out. Yeah. That'd be awesome. I'd love that. The other thing I was thinking was like, you got this fiction. It's like you got this weird looking head. You just plop it on this crazy like space suit, and it's like, how does this creature fit inside this space suit? Kind of thing. It's one of those kind of things. So it kind of like just makes your imagination just go.
Yeah, and some of that will be in the fiction, the different heads and how they can work into it. There's thoughts on that. And we're in the middle of putting together our story Bible.
What I like is, if I can, they pull a bunch of guys together that have a lot of talent first, have worked in this for a long time, so they have kind of rode the ups and downs of development. They understand that to navigate that. And like, it's like finally all these guys are allowed to use their talent. And
Yeah. They're off the chain.
they're allowed to kind of do their own stuff, and it's so liberating. You don't get to do that when you're a freelancer, right? You get told what to do, when to get it done, how much you're going to get paid, or whatever, what the deal is. And it's a whole different dynamic. It's more of you can have fun with it. I'm creative.
I'm not worried about parts count or paint apps. I'm just do the best thing you can do, and then we'll adjust on the end of it. We'll adjust the price up to match it. We're gonna make what you design.
Exactly. And I think that's almost like a love letter to some of the fans out there. Some of the guys out there are like, oh, I'd love stuff like this, and there it is, And it really brings a lot of those guys more into the end of create your own kind of thing. I really think that's awesome.
I'm big into that.
Well, I look at it as, how can we be a bigger part of the community, and that's how we got. I hate the word fan artists because I just think it's derogatory. I mean, there are artists who happen to be into stuff. And I was at a show and I met this artist, and her stuff just blew me away. And I asked her if she'd be interested in doing some design, doing some art. And we're reaching out to people in the community, some who might not have professional experience. And I really like the result I got from her. So I think we might do something like that again with a headshot set, where we ask people, hey, give us some designs, you get to come up with a name.
You want to explain what the headshots are?
Yeah, so the headshots are a set of 3 heads, interchangeable with all our figures, and they also work on a lot of the Marvel Legends, Master Universe Classics.
The same.
That's not like Universal ball joint or Star Wars Black Series. And I'm thinking of opening it up to letting the fans contribute in a way where maybe we do like a set of 5 or a set of 6 or 10, and of course pay them for this. Just let the fans submit a head and a name, maybe a couple sentences about a character, and we'll maybe as a team look at them and say, that's interesting, and pay them for their efforts. And the real reward is that, hey, we're going to make this, and you helped us do this. And it's just another way we want to reach out to our fan base, or the people who are in this community with us, who like this stuff. We like stuff. Well, it all comes down to Kickstarter. And
there was a Star Trek thing that StarTrek.com did here a few years back. They may even still do it, where you could actually go online and enter in like a photo of yourself, and it would like scan that photo, and they could actually somehow model a action figure with your face on it in a Starfleet uniform. And what it's like someone could feel like, hey, this is me in toy form, and
it's their avatar.
It's their avatar,
right.
and just seeing something. It gives them the sense of something of creating something that, you know, and whenever you have an artist that can sit down and create something, you know, in a way that's their avatar, you know, that's their thoughts in physical form that they can reach out and touch.
Yeah,
And that's really awesome.
I mean, this whole aspect kind of reminds me of what Blizzard Entertainment did. They actually have a thing where you can go to this website and have your character printed off, and whatever you logged out is that character. Whatever, doesn't matter the output it's wearing or anything. It's called footprints, and it's really, really interesting how you're able to do that. And then you're able to go in and just choose the kind of poses you want them in. Now they're statues, but it is kind of almost that same kind of thing.
That's your digital soul,
and it's awesome. And there's a lot of people enjoy that kind of thing too, because I can see this blowing up just as big as that had.
Oh, well, thank you. It's all us trying to be a bigger part of our community, and I really like the idea of reaching out. And there's a lot of creative people out there who not everyone has worked in the toy industry or comic books or done freelance art, and they're just doing art for themselves. And if we're able to figure out the logistics of opening it up, I'm sure we're going to see some crazy stuff that none of us had ever thought of before.
Now, are there any designs, new designs that you've unveiled since you were on the show that you would like to talk about today? I mean, we can't actually physically show, I guess, right now, but we're going to do another edit of this video, and PWTToo can edit them in. Are there any that you would like to?
Well, there's Boneyard, who's our gladiator character. I really like him. He's got the gauntlets. He's got it's the first time we've shown a head that has a removable helmet. Actually fits over his face. Unlike Astro Blast, where the head inside of the helmet, this is actually soft PVC that'll go around that. There's Jet Wash, who I think we might be changing the name to Jet Strike, who's our flyer. I really like the story behind his character. He's on our heroes team. There's Bloodbath, who's our vampire character. And then there's I think we're still working on a name for your guy, right? Yeah, Take-O Kill. It was like the working title, but yeah, that character he's going to be a big part of our fiction. He's going to be the first real big villain that our heroes encounter. So I'm really liking the story that Trent and I put together, and we're going to put all these notes and ideas together and hand it off to Simon and see where he takes it. And Aaron's helping out with the story too. And
I didn't know this.
Okay. And
you guys figure it out from there.
I'm not sure how the figure's going to go. I don't know if we're going to do one figure with a lot of parts, so you can kind of make who you want to make, or you make the or you make your octopus squid monster. We haven't figured that part out yet, but it's a crazy design.
This arch villain, I guess, or the first main bad guy, is it the one that you were showing that had like all the tentacles?
Yeah.
So it's kind of inspired. I like Jack Kirby stuff. I like all that Mayan Machu Picchu stuff. I like Lovecraft and deep sea divers and stuff. So it's a bit of a. I looked at the inspiration of Hot Punch, and there's not a lot there. It's an interesting potential, and I feel like I've done an interesting job of taking it pretty far from where it started, but yet it's an interesting, compelling look. All that tactical stuff is kind of what makes him the bad guy.
Yeah. So, I really like the story of top line some notes. He's out with Boneyard, a very young Boneyard, a long, long time ago, and they're hunting this thing for whatever reason. He kills it, but he's infected. He's bit, he gets scratched, and he becomes this thing himself. And many years later, our heroes have to take one of their own down.
That's interesting. I like that kind of aspect where it really brings home that they have to do something, that they don't want to do. I like stuff like that because that to me it makes the fiction feel more realistic and more home for some people, and it also just kind of adds that extra little bit of curiosity, especially when you go to like say you read like the next one or something like that, because it keeps the ball rolling, so it doesn't become some stagnant thing but just consistently just does the same thing.
Yeah, and I think we're going to treat our villains more like a rogues gallery, where they're not a faction. They're just, this villain does this and this villain does that, and this is a different type of villain, and they all have their own plans that they're enacting, and they're not all working together on one dude.
Well, you look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle villains, or they're just random,
like the evil version of the Super
Thundercats.
They all had their own agendas.
Yeah, they were loosely affiliated. One of the Vulture guys, one of that guy.
Or you may have you might have two bad guys that are, it's like they hate the good guys, but they also hate each other, and it's like they try to interfere in one another.
Yeah,
you can have
like,
that kind of play on it.
The story, if it's faction based, the story doesn't really. It becomes a two-sided war, and
very episodic. And
we got a lot of brands with that.
Done that
Stories
before.
with that. We've done that before, so we're trying to do something different.
Well, I know we're kind of running a little bit long here, and I know you guys are tired and want to get back. Listen, before we wrap up, let's bring it back to Transformers real quick and talk about some of your favorite work on Transformers, and where you would you not necessarily know that the brand is going, but where you would like to see it go if you were still going. What would you like to bring back, if any ideas or anything?
I'm gonna start on this one.
Yeah, sure.
You write your notes. So I look at a lot of the products out there today, and I wonder not just who these products directed towards, but I see a lot of non-transforming products, especially in the movie, and it just puts that thought in my head. Well, 20 years from now, when the kids of today are collectors our ages, and they're looking to go back and they want to recapture their childhood, what type of message are they setting the brand up for? Is it a non-transforming action figure with limited articulations that has wheels hanging off of it, or is it a transformer? And I just see a lot of non-transforming play in the brand side. It just makes me curious that what's the brand going to be in 20 years from now, when the kids of today are adults and they want to masterpiece something from today's toy line.
Well, to build on that, I mean, I think this partially is a large driving force for collectors why the independent market is growing so rapidly, is because the official product that we want so much, that is more toward the collector base, is getting, there's fewer and fewer of it, and
well, it's like it's a weird death spiral as the companies are after more and more of the kid dollars, and to their ends, rightfully so, I guess. There's a growing need because there's probably more collectors overall, not just Transformers, but overall. It really creates the opportunity for the third parties and the 3D printing, and third parties is probably a misnomer too, independent companies. And it's interesting timing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That you can take control of your fandom in a way, or the ability to be a fan, create your own toys, versus
the way I see it is it's demographics. I mean, you think about the way kids were in the 80s, everybody bought toys. Nowadays, it's more computer-based software type of thing. So somehow you always have to integrate that into the toy to get the kid to buy it.
Yeah.
And like the mainstream, it's very difficult to compete with that. I mean, even Lego even struggled with it for a while. And they're one of the companies in the world when it comes to toy manufacturing.
I can't even help but think. I mean, I have an 8-year-old stepdaughter, and I love her to death, and she is got a heart so full of fun. But whenever I speak about toys with her, she doesn't care. There is nothing out there that grabs her enough that she clings onto. It's all Minecraft, video games, and everything. And it makes me think about toys today. And she actually has made fun of me for collecting toys. You know, why do you like toys? I'm like, well, because I don't. It's not because I get down on the floor and play with them. It's because I find them interesting.
Super weird guys.
But it's because I find them interesting, and the nostalgia factor comes back. Even if it's a new character, if it harkens back to something that I can relate to, it appeals to me. But it scares me for kids today to become, and the brand, you know, it's like, and I see this in Transformers too. You know, if there's more and more kids out there like my stepdaughter, if they don't care about toys, what's it going in 20 years in the toy industry?
I think you'll have more independent companies catering particularly to a new, yes, and probably connected fan base of toys. You know, adults, you know, have money in some cases clearly to buy those things, because the manufacturing of toys is low end, man. You know, no one wants to make that stuff anymore either. As much as kids don't always want to buy it, manufacturers want, like, you know, they want high-tech products too. They make more money that way. They make money making little slug arms and legs, right? So it is a big shift. It's coming, whether we like it or not, and that's why you can take it back personally and still offer stuff now. I think if we love toys, we all have to get together and love toys, or it will go away, and then we won't have anything. And we can get caught up in the fiefdoms of Transformers, Star Wars, whatever. But if you like toys, you better support this stuff. Big companies are going to be making comic stuff and less of it, or less evolved stuff, or boring stuff.
I just wonder what is a Toys R Us going to look like in years? Is it just going to be Best Buy? And you go and you...
I've actually had that very thought.
I mean, brick and mortar stores have their own struggles, but not on one chain, but Toys R Us, where they just cater to, you know, one specific item, which is toys. You know, what's the future hold for a place like that? Where is it going to turn into, there's your 3D printing aisle, and there's your DVD aisle, and there's your flash drive aisles?
Well, and it goes to the and this is in recent news too. For example, the Breaking Bad action figures. This is in the news right now as we're recording this. You know, there are parents that are outraged over Breaking Bad action figures and being in Toys R Us, and they don't want their children buying these. Well, they don't realize that adults buy toys too, and
obviously makes money for those companies.
Yeah,
but I think I mean, I look at those Walter White figures and I think, what kid's gonna want to play with that?
Anyway,
like when the kid has a choice between like a Power Ranger or like a Ninja Turtle,
something
or a Transformer,
colored,
and they see a sickly looking guy in a suit with a hat and glasses. Is that what the kid's gonna want, or are they gonna want the Power Ranger?
Well, we never make Commissioner Gordon for a reason. They're never gonna want.
But there's an Alfred.
Yeah, I hear.
Well, I mean,
old men in suits are not.
Who wants to play with the old guy?
The funny thing is, there's worse stuff at Toys R Us as far as content than Breaking Bad, isn't there?
Well, the video games, M-rated video games,
Call of Duty,
R-rated movies, you know.
But some of those figures,
and it's just a figure. It's not the show.
Yeah,
it's not the language of the show or the content of the show.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of like when the Spawn action figures just started hitting the market. It was a little more mainstream. I know they're very, very, very grotesque looking and stuff, and you know, you'd see that parent trying to hide that child's eyes and push them all the way down the aisle or whatever. Because you know, when they market this stuff and put it on the shelf, they don't pay attention to that. And you know, I noticed something at Toys R Us is they tend to try to put all those collector items all in one aisle to try to segregate it away from everything else. Because you don't want your child to see some of that stuff. Well, some kids wouldn't even be bothered by it. Some are just like, they don't even care. This is what I have to bright shiny thing, not the thing that's dripping blood and all this.
And I would wager most kids come in with a predetermined idea of what they might be into. Like, I'm here to get Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, I can't imagine a kid wandering in and accidentally going to Breaking Bad figure, going and watching the content, thinking he's going to watch a show of superheroes or something, and being encountered by that show, going, "What happened on Damage for Life?" That's
foolish.
unrealistic.
Yeah. And I think a lot of toy companies are they actually know this and understand this, which is why there's a lot of collector oriented and marketed toys out there.
I think some toy companies embrace it and others from it.
I've been saying it for a while. Just like our country right now, there's a very small percentage of people who have a lot of people who don't have much. And I think this world we're in reflects that. You know, these low end, under $20, they don't transform toys in the case of Transformers, but low end action figures across the board. They don't have a lot of features, they don't have a lot of whiz bang. And then you jump to these $80 Metroplexes and bigger sets and things, you know, it's like catering to these high end people and then the low end people. It's
Feast or famine.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. It really is.
I mean, I've actually felt that crunch too. I mean, my family and I, we recently moved, and we've had a lot of financial difficulty. And as a collector, as a Transformer collector, because let's be honest, it's a very expensive hobby. And I've been
and a lot to collect.
Yeah, and I've been very creative in ways to try and get a hold of figures that I want, and I've missed a lot of figures I want. And and whether they be independent release toys or officially released Hasbro product, I mean, and a good example of this is like the Masterpiece at Toys R Us. Whenever and people doesn't even notice this. I mean, at our sponsor Capture Prey, we're retailing the Takara Tony version for $70. Well, you can go to Toys R Us and buy Masterpiece Proud, same exact toy, and pay $69.99 plus tax, which takes it like $72, $73, depending on what part of the country you're in. So, in essence, you're paying more for the domestic version than you are the import. And as a collector, I sit there and I look at that, and I'm like, it's so skewed sometimes, and it's really frustrating as whenever you have a limited income, and there's something out there that you want, and all you have is like these shampoo bottle things that don't do anything but appeal.
You can't really knock the jumbos. I mean, it's a great thing because jumbos was like a great thing in the 70s, and the 80s, but now it's kind of like if they would just added like a rock or something. I think they would just
purposely,
but they're just there.
Trying to be cost conscious and global market.
Right.
We obviously are kind of skewed towards what we get at our retail, but it's harder to make money and survive in places like Brazil and Italy even and stuff. So to get those brands in those markets and make any money, they have to make it so that those people have a chance to even think about collecting art.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of those things that don't work here are tactical elsewhere. So I bet you it's not just we get screwed out of good toys. People get toys they would never have gotten.
I also have to say I really appreciate the Generations Legends. I mean, it's a lower price point toy, but you have a lot of them are actually surprisingly complex, and I really enjoy that as a collector. I mean, I can go out and get a $10, $12 figure once in a while, it's something that I won't feel guilty about, and I feel satisfied. But
and they're doing a lot of the right characters.
Yeah, and I do feel appreciation for that, but beyond that, I just feel that there's too much that, like you alluded to earlier, there's too much non-transforming stuff out there that appeals, that's trying to appeal to a younger audience, or it's essentially a cash grab for the name. And I just kind of wonder how much could have been allotted from that to something that can appeal to everyone, not just collectors, but kids in general, the lower price point things. I just wonder how much that was actually taken into account, like with this new age of extension line. Well, it's not so new now, but I just kind of wonder how much of that was actually taken into account whenever these came to around.
Being there a long time, I can tell you, sometimes newness alone gets people excited. That's like that line, just because you can, should you?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the debate on the extension toys, but I can tell you, a lot of those concepts are exciting to people inside the building because they were new. So insert word.
I mean,
it seems exciting and different when you get outboard retail and fans and everything else. It might not have that same level of excitement for the fact that it's just new.
Right.
Because it doesn't filter in other concepts that are needed to be a good.
One of the big things I noticed with the line that came out is, it reintroduced the Spark gimmick that was completely, that was, totally 80s, and now they brought it back. Yeah, it might be contained within something, but it's a Spark gimmick. A lot of us never thought we would never see that again. Yes, it does a transform or anything, but who cares? It's a Spark gimmick. That's the whole reason why you buy the thing, And some people, like, the big thing is I notice, like, when it comes to collecting in general, I like gimmicks in a toy, but I don't like a gimmick to handle the toy. Well, that's not really hindering because that's what it does. And like in Generation 2, they gave you like crazy little add-ons and stuff like that. Where they give you like, firing missiles and rotors and stuff like that to fire off, and water squirting gimmicks and stuff like that. That's a great gimmick. It doesn't hinder the toy.
Well, the water squirting fades the toy sticker.
Well, it does, but then
and that makes
in the prime line you had the light gimmicks and the stuff didn't work and people weren't happy with it. So Dr. Wu comes in, gives you swords and all this craziness.
Or Repo Labels comes in using new stickers.
Right, and you got that too.
Yeah.
So there's always a fix to a lot of the things that come out. If it doesn't appeal to you, just don't buy it. But if it's something you like, get it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's like jumbos. I know guys who collect number jumbos. I can see those jumbos for me.
I really think, I hope that, it's an evolved state right now. Toy collecting is very different than it would have been even 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I really do hope that fans of the medium can get together and support, participate in, chatter about whatever, like what people are doing, because it's genuine. Like things were in the 80s a little bit.
Look at how it's evolved, where now you have $500, $600 pieces that come out there.
Right.
I mean, they're beautifully engineered. Yeah, exactly. That thing's crazy.
And it's that whole thing that when you're growing up in the 80s here in the States, you never seen a guy with a figure. You always thought it was like this, like a driver or something. And now
I never knew
with
what the
social media and all this stuff, it's able to make that that little bitty urge all these people had just grow into like one big humongous thing. And it's like it's so wonderful seeing some of these things that have been coming out. Like, the coffee truck, it's just amazing pieces that completely blow our mind of what they're able to do with this technology now. And it's really been evolving quite rapidly. And I can see, what you guys are going to be doing. That's going to completely add to it. There's going to be somebody out there like, hey, we're going to make crazy weapons and stuff that plug in. You make like 5mm ports on there. You're going to have people put neck tech weapons on there because they can.
Yeah.
Or master shooters.
There might be some areas where you can clip on your 3mm clips too.
Or even B-Long. B-Long being a big thing like they are. I can see a lot of guys buy that and turn back around, buy all these big B-Longs and slap a bunch of weapons on it. There you go. It's cool stuff.
Our tech ones would work with B-Longs too.
Boom!
You can make your tech mod. Well, I don't know what you would call it.
Body
Trent Mog.
Your Trent Mog, yeah.
well, real quick, I know we asked you this on the other episode, but since things kind of got screwed up, we'll ask you again, and then we'll ask Aaron. What if you could name one Transformer that you've helped work on that was your favorite? What would it be?
G2 Bruticus, the Amazon.com exclusive. That was a pure labor of love.
You brought in your original and they looked at the box,
We
right?
scanned in the original box. I found one of the original painters to paint the card art on that. I brought in my original G2 toys to match the deco on the figures. I fought to have the G2 logo on there and the right faction symbols, and everyone was just really cool. It was the exclusives team, so they had a slightly different mentality and a different approach, and everyone was just really cool with it. And
Financial.
And to me, it's like, wow, that's what a G2 box set would have been like for Bruticus
I have to
in
admit,
1990.
Whenever it was first announced, I mean, I saw the SDCC one. I'm like, oh, that's gorgeous. You know, that's look at the bright colors. It's the G1 colors, and then you have the regular release. I'm like, oh, those are nice too. And then I'm like, I think I'll try to get the SDCC one. And then I had to wait a little bit because it was a little bit more expensive than I could afford. And then the G2 one was unveiled. I'm like, forget those. That was a home run. That was a home run.
Anything G2 was, I had a hand at.
And I'm sure someone would be really
Absolutely
happy.
loved that toy. That toy is just, it was such a love letter to the guys that grew up, you know, the guys during the 90s and stuff that only saw that on the shelf. That's a complete love
It's
letter
like,
to them.
ow, my
I
eyes,
collected it before, but I was like, oh my God, that was I would really like to see more of that, because the G2 colors, some people say, oh yeah, it's garish. Well, that's part of
Well, charm, man.
that's part of the charm.
A lot of
It
people-
might be ugly, but it's the most coolest thing
lot
I've
of-
ever seen because it is ugly.
A lot of people forget too that the G2 color schemes kind of help revive in the older molds. I mean, basically, the first few waves of G2 was just the 84 mold brought back. Hey, let's paint them different wacky colors and maybe add on a couple little things.
Stickers.
And they're like new toys for a new generation of Transformer fans. Well, here, this is a result right here.
I remember I got that black side swipe. I was so happy.
Yeah,
It's like, wow, he's blacked out. That's awesome.
yeah.
He's
That
the
goes
red.
With the
What
neon
happened?
green and yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And seeing like the little prototype things that could have been, you know, as a customizer, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna do the yellow, the fading of the teal, because that's just cool. I'm gonna have one of those sitting on the shelf next to the real one. It's gonna be cool to have stuff like that.
What do you think? What's your favorite thing?
You know, it's tough for me, man. I was on it for so long that you know, I was fortunate, very fortunate to get to work with crazy people, amazing people, get to do a lot of things that I just made up out of my head, you know, and got supported and embraced and everything else. So it's really hard for me to single stuff out because it was along my career path. You know, so I got stepping stones that are my favorite. It's like a non-bullshit answer, but
Well, and it also helped too that both of you were fans before you were attached to the brand officially. You know.
yeah, I can't claim to be, you know, super fan or anything. I played with, I watched your show, I read the comics.
But you were familiar with
I was definitely familiar with it. I was certainly a G.I. Joe kid, which meant, you know, I understood Hasbro, I understood the crossovers, you know, but you know, it also taught me storytelling related to big groups with a lot of subset groups, you know. So I think that education, you know, helped me down the road when I got the job. But you know, everything was a stepping stone. Armada was great for me. Great, you know, being part of the team that let loose animated, you know, to show the world a different look, you know, and then the movies, you know, like every day and stuff. You know, so it's tough for me to call anything out.
I mean, it's really awesome. Well, I'll ask you to get ready to kill the video, and I want to tell you guys from a personal standpoint, and also from TFYLP and the listeners, thank you both for all the hard work that you've done on the brand of Transformers that we are a fan of. And we that's why we're here. And we've driven and flown thousands of miles, some of us, and it's a testament to you guys, the hard work that you put in. And
that goes both ways. It's, for me, I had a corporate job, and I was fortunate that it ended up the way it did. You meet a lot of great people, passionate people who've stuck with this stuff for years, taught me a lot. But it's always a big group. You can't. One or two of us here really doesn't represent the totality of how this awesome stuff really gets made. There's hundreds of people who touch those things. They all should be so lucky to be on podcasts and celebrated at conventions and their names known and so forth. Largely, most of those people don't get this kind of treatment. But I'm just happy to have had the experience.
And like I said, I mean, we are appreciative. I mean, there's fans out there with, that are fans now because of things that you created and helped create and had your hand in.
Yeah, I met a guy who Jersey phone up. He was like grew up in Armada. And to him, that was his view on it. He loved it as much as you guys loved more. And it changed his life. I mean, he was like, I'm into art now, and I was like, wow, you really can affect somebody just by drawing robots.
I have to admit, the Armada PS3 or PS2 game was the best Transformer game I had played ever up until that point. It's like, wow. I mean, this was.
Wait! You didn't like the NES version? The one that released on the Famicom?
I had the Commodore 64 version, and that thing crashed all the time, and it was just a little Ultra Magnus, I guess.
How far did you get? Did you even pass the first level?
CD.
That was so hard to play.
Oh yeah, that was the worst.
Wow.
I think I played that once.
Yeah. I don't think it's a game. I don't know how you play it.
But to wrap it up, you guys are starting up Play With This Too, and we urge all of our listeners and fans to support this company that they're starting up and donate to the Kickstarter program and help them succeed. I mean, these guys have helped create something that, as fans of Transformers for Your Listening Pleasure, this podcast, that's what we do. We're fans of Transformers. You guys helped create a lot of Transformer content, toys and everything. And now you're doing something different, but along the same veins. Like I was alluding to earlier with the Star Trek and Star Wars. It's not that far a leap to become a fan of what you guys are doing now. And, so it's not totally unreasonable for Transformer fans to say, hey, look, I can play with this stuff.
You can play with their stuff. You can play with this stuff.
Exactly. And we hope you guys succeed in everything that you do.
Thank you very much. Kickstarter is coming in February.
Now, can they donate before then, or is it?
We do have a donation set up on our website, and we're doing a pre-Kickstarter donation fundraiser here where everyone gets a prize. PlayWithTheStoo.com. It all goes to helping us develop the prototypes and the art and marketing and just spreading the word.
The more we can do up front before Kickstarter, have our thoughts down and down, designs down. So every dollar helps early, obviously, but so that when the Kickstarter goes, Rick has the right stuff and it's done and it can get produced. There's nothing too much back end to do.
No, we should be ready to go. If it's funded, we'll be ready to go. Right.
This is not your normal Kickstarter. I mean, there's not of output up front, really, with the risk, right? So not every Kickstarter works that way. So we're into it, man.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, listeners, for joining us here at TFCon USA, the very first one. We're going to try to do a few more. we're going to try to do a few more interviews this weekend as time allows. But we want to thank Rick and Aaron for joining us today, and we will see you next time on Transformers for your listening pleasure. This is Weird Wolf, Plasticon, Aaron, and Rick. See you next time. Of course.
Bye.
Transformers, when the battle is through, only the strong will survive. Children run.
This has been Transformers for your listening pleasure, a presentation of TFTalk.net. We'd like to thank you for listening and ask that you please rate us on your favorite podcast outlet and share us with your friends. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at TFYLP. Email us at podcast@tfylp.com. This is Paul Lighting, and on behalf of TFYLP, we'd like to thank you again for listening. And we hope you'll join us next time for another TFYLP.
TFYLP is sponsored by CapturedPrey.com. Great toys, great prices, great service. Visit www.capturedprey.com for all your import, Transformers, and third-party figure needs. And save even more through the Captured Prey loyalty program. CapturedPrey.com. Mega Toy Fan. Look for Mega Toy Fan at popular toy conventions like BotCon and TFCon, as well as on Facebook at facebook.com/mega.toyfan. Join up on our forums at tftalk.net. Discuss the podcast with the cast of the show, talk about Transformers and Super Robot Mecha, or just talk about whatever is on your mind. Visit tftalk.net or tfylp.com today. TFYLP is also on Twitter at TFYLP. The TFYLP Twitter is the one place where you can find out the latest information on the show, as well as directly contact us about the show. Follow at TFYLP today. Join the TFYLP Facebook group, where hundreds of fans talk about the show, or you can buy, sell, or trade your Transformers figures with fellow members. Visit facebook.com/groups/TFYLP and ask to join today. You can now find TFYLP on Stitcher Radio. Stitcher Radio is a free app available for the iOS, Android, and Nook platforms, with over 20,000 shows to discover. With Stitcher Radio, you can create your own custom playlists, and is always on demand and always on the go. Listen in to TFYLP on Stitcher Radio today, and please rate us. Tell other fans that you heard TFYLP on Stitcher Radio. TFYLP is available for download via the iTunes podcast directory, Double Twist on the Android platform, as well as from our website at tfylp.com.